Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to show you how we can go ahead and configure BitLocker encryption policy for Autopilot devices or the devices which are going to be enrolled through the Autopilot enrollment, which is also called as out-of-the-box experience, right? Now, this is something which you might have seen that before or you might have been using it, but this is really great capability of Intune and which comes with and which is a kind of bundled with enrollment status page, right? And now there are two ways or there are pros and cons to it, whether we should use ESPs or we should not use ESPs, right? And to speed up the device enrollment process as well, many have seen that or many of the IT pros experience that ESP is something which is a kind of blocker at one point because it just takes time to identify the applications and then it tries to install the applications and all of that stuff, but it is also going to enforce the right set of configurations and policies that we are going to deploy. And that's going to happen over the out-of-the-box experience when the device is being enrolled, right? So I'm going to show you how we can go ahead and create those policies together one by one, and then we can apply those policies to the respective groups wherever those devices are going to be part of, right? So that I'm not going to show you the direct demo of the enrollment, but I'm going to show you by creating those policies. And definitely those policies are going to give you clear understanding about how we can go ahead and create those policies so that whatever the configurations we are preparing, the same configurations would be enforced on the devices when those devices are going through the out-of-the-box experience, right? So without any delay, let's start it. But before that, I would like you to like this video, share it across with your friends, colleagues, and subscribe to the channel as well so that you get to see new videos. All right, let's come back to the topic. So first, we'll create the BitLocker policy for enrollment status page, right? And once that policy is created, we will create the enrollment status page where in we would include that respective group as well as customize the ESP enrollment status page as well. So that page is going to be customized as per our needs. And we would also input some of the details for end users to contact to the respective support team. Maybe it's going to be L1 support or any support team that is going to work on those kind of issues, or if in case the user needs any help and support during that phase, right? It should not be the case that user is going through the enrollment process and there are some issues and device has stuck on the enrollment. But if there is no way for users to take any steps or actions, then user is put in just into the non-productive way and user experience will be very difficult for them to get into the system, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to show you by creating policy first, and then we can move to the next step, which is by creating ESP, which is enrollment status page. So this is going to be pretty straightforward. And to show you the demo, definitely there should be an device which is going to be or which should be part of Autopilot before going through the enrollment process, and then it has to go through the process of complete Autopilot, which is out of the box experience, right? So that's going to be something that I'm not going to do in this video, at least for now. But yeah, definitely that's going to be something it's great to do and show you how we can do that, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Let me share my screen and we can go ahead and start the policy creation. All right, so we are on Intune portal over here, and I'll jump onto the policy creation first. So the policy is going to be created under endpoint security, right? And this policy is going to be disk encryption because we are enforcing the BitLocker encryption during the out-of-the-box experience for the device enrollment. And this is in context of the devices which are going to be joined to the Entra. So that's the pure cloud scenario. And even if you have the hybrid scenario, this is going to be applicable. But definitely there are both sides to manage, and device preparations and underlying preparation is also necessary. So I'm not going to cover that side at this video, at least. But yeah, that's something which we can do as well, right? So let's go ahead and click on disk encryption over here, and we'll create disk or BitLocker encryption policy, right? So let's go ahead and click on create policy, select the platform, which is Windows, and then from here we have to select BitLocker because we are going to enforce the BitLocker during the out of the box experience for the users or on the devices. And let's hit create button. So now we have a number of steps to go through here. So I'll just give it a name, something like BitLocker policy via ESP. ESP is an enrollment status page. So that's what we wanted to do in this separate, because we wanted to enforce the BitLocker policy or BitLocker encryption during the device enrollment out of the box experience, right? Now, there are a number of encryption methods in this BitLocker policy, and that those are available here in the configuration settings, right? And for us to do this one, we are going to encrypt the drive, right? And then also enforcing operating system drive encryption on operating system level, right? So let's go ahead and click on this second option. And there is also BitLocker option for us, which is a require device encryption, allow earning for other disk encryptions, configure recovery password rotations. All of these are something also really great features and capabilities, but those are something which are kind of add-on capabilities, and we can enforce those as well as an advanced or next layer of security, right? So we can do that as well, but for now I'm not going to add or configure it. Instead, I'm just going to configure this one, and you can see that we have number of encryption methods over here, and you can see there is a default one which is XTS AES 128-bit. So on all of these levels, which is on the fixed drive, then operating system drive, as well as a removable drives. So definitely we can go ahead and select whichever is going to be right one for us. And it depends on which is something which we wanted to enforce for the organization policy-wide, standards-wise, compliance and security, right? It is something depending on the organization's security and compliance requirements and how they wanted to make sure we should enforce the particular encryption method, right? So I'm going to keep it default for now because there are different methods for us, and definitely we can change it as per our needs, right? And there is a decisions to make as well from security standpoint, and we can go ahead and do that, right? So next is provide unique identifiers for your organization. So if we enable it, then that's going to be something we can put in place. Allow BitLocker identification field for devices and another BitLocker identification for devices specifically. So that's just for identification purpose. So I'm not going to add that one. So we are good on the BitLocker drive encryption side right here. And on the operating system level, we have to come back over here, and there are a number of options, right? So all of these are not mandatory or not necessary, but definitely when we wanted to enforce the BitLocker encryption on or during the enablement of BitLocker encryption from the start, from the enrollment status page, then user would go through all these steps where user has to start or create a PIN, right, which is going to require additional authentication at startup. So that's going to ask every time when user is going to on and off the device, user has to enter the PIN, and then only once the PIN is authenticated, verified, then only it is going to let user get into the system. Otherwise, it's not going to allow to get into the system and access any of the content or anything at all, right? Then all of these are the different settings that we can configure for the same. And that's just for the another layer of authentication. But from this whole list, we just need to configure this one option. And then there is another option for encryption type on the device level, right? The first one says, which is allow users to choose by default, right? So user has an option if we are going to put or select this option, but we don't want that to happen, or we don't want to let users to take any actions or steps, right? And we as an IT pros and from our guide policies and decisions, we can enforce either full encryption or used space only, right? So it is totally depend on the organization policies and on the security side as well as compliance and everything together. Either we should enforce full encryption or use space only, because depends wherever the data is storing and is being stored across the device, be it C or D or any drive across the device, everything is going to be encrypted, right? So if it is full encryption, the whole disk is going to be encrypted. If it is going to be use space only, let's say we have 500 TB drive, right? And if we are going to select and use space only encryption, then it's going to encrypt only the used storage or used space on that respective disk. Let's say out of 500, the six out of 500, we have 300 GB or TB is being used. Only that data is going to be encrypted, and remaining space is not going to be encrypted at all, right? So this way we can enforce that as well. So it is good to encrypt everything across the disk, be it data side as well as empty side, right? So even on the disk level, there are different partitions, blank partitions or full partitions where the data is stored or data is relying, and different partitions are also been there too on the disk level, where the disk space is also being used, or disk has its own logical layers to keep that disk up and running, right? So that is going to be encrypted as well. So we will set it up this way, which is going to encrypt full disk, and we should be good here. There are other options as well, like full or fixed data drives, and we can configure that as well as per our needs, basically. And then we can go ahead and take the appropriate actions. But for now, I'm not going to make any changes or anything here, and we simply go ahead and click next. So scope tags, we don't have to add it, but definitely this is also a really great feature for scoping the policy wherever we wanted to enforce it only, and then scope tag is going to be handy for that. Click next for assignments. So I'm going to assign this policy to one of the group, which is Autopilot devices, right? And currently there are no devices you can see, but I'm just showing you how we can do that. And there is target type, include and exclude as well. So we can do that as well, right? And click next. And once we are good, once we are here at the last stage, we can go ahead and simply save this policy. So it's going to create a policy for us, and that should be ready for us once it is created. So you can see that policy is created. It's just taking time to load. All right, so let's filter it out this way, and we should be able to see that. All right, so this is the policy here. You can see BitLocker policy by ESP. And so this is the policy that I've created, right? So once you come back here and click on administrative templates, you can see that the complete configuration and settings that we have set up, right? So this is going to put everything in place, and we can simply go ahead and create it. Now let's jump back to the ESP page, right? Which is going to be enforced on the same group, right? That's going to be separate policy. So let's click on Windows, then Enrollment, and then scroll down here, and here's the Enrollment Status Page. So from here, we can simply go ahead and create similar policy. So I'll just give it a different name, something like BitLocker ESP for BitLocker policy. so that it is easy for us to understand and identify as well. Right, click next. So here's the option for us, which is going to be show app and profile configuration progress. So once we set yes, then we get a bunch of options to configure as per needs and enforce the same configurations on the devices during the enrollment, right? So that's going to be pushed during the enrollment on the respective group, whichever group is going to be target of this policy, right? So this is going to be starting with showing an error message during the installation and how much time it takes for that number of minutes. Let's say by default is 60 minutes, but definitely we can go ahead and change that as per our needs. And if we are confident enough that the policy is going to be configured within that particular period, because if we are enforcing the number of applications at the same time during the out of the box experience, then it takes longer time to install all the applications as well as to complete the whole process, right? And that's not really a great experience we would want users to give, right? And that is why we should definitely test it thoroughly and then see how it works and try to reduce down the number of minutes from that enrollment page to move ahead to all the steps, right? And we can take it, or maybe we can just customize and modify it. Next is show custom message when time limits and error occurs, right? So this is the customized message that we can put in place for end users to reach out to the respective team, probably help desk team or any team that is going to help users during this enrollment phase, because that could be cumbersome for users because they are new to the system or the organizations and they are joining it. But if the device itself, it is not enrolling and it's taking a lot of time, that means it's going to hamper the user experience and they would definitely would not like to that happen at all. So we should give something like email address or contact number so that users can contact at a particular number. We can, let's say 897, and I'm just giving some random numbers over here, and email at admin@msapnds.com. So this is just an example that I'm putting here, but definitely we should give this details for end users so that they can also contact and ask for help if they need it, right? So it should not be the case they are not getting enough help and they're also not been going through this all the enrollment process, but that's cumbersome one, right? So let's look at some of the other options where we can see turn on log collections and diagnostics page for end users, then only show page to device provisioned by out of the box experience, and block device until use until all apps and profiles are installed. So this is something which is going to be taking time, or it's going to block the end user's efficiency to get into the device and start the working. So we can make the decisions whether we should keep it to yes or no, right? And if we set it to no, then that means definitely we can avoid other options or other steps. Let's say we set to yes, then you can see that other options are automatically enabled, right? Those are something like allow users to reset the device if installation error occurs, allow users to use a device if installation error occurs, and block device until required apps are installed if they are assigned to the device or user, right? So if we set to no, that means the enrollment process is going to take speed and is going to happen faster than this method if we set it to yes, right? So we don't want users to go through all the steps and keep them waiting for such a long period. Even if it is for 30 minutes or 40 minutes, that's not going to be the right way, right? Because we just wanted to give them the right experience and it should be a smooth experience overall through the device enrollment and get into the device management, because they have the excitement to start their work and a new job. So definitely we should give them the right experience. So I'm going to set it to no, and we should go ahead and do that. But before setting no, or before making this policy broader across the organization, definitely we should test it, how it works, and how this policy is going to make the change or impact, right? Because even if we set 60 minutes of time over here, it should complete with at least minimum time of max to max 30 to 45 minutes, right? And that is what we should aim for, right? So we are done here. Let's go ahead and click next one. And from here, we can assign that respective group wherever we wanted to target this policy. So I have that group here, which is autopilot. Now this one, you can see that this is autopilot devices, select. So I have added that group. That means we have targeted respective group wherever we wanted to enforce. Click next on the scoping tags. I don't have any, so I'm not going to add one. Click next, and you can review the settings and configurations that we have created. And once we are good here, just go ahead and click create. So now the policy is being created. It is going to be created, and once it is ready, policy will be deployed on that respective group wherever we are targeting the devices, right? All right, so this policy is created, ESP for BitLocker policy, and we are good here. You can see that the whole configurations over here, and the policy is going to be enforced as and when the device enrollment is going to happen during it, right? So yeah, that is all for this video. I wanted to show you and talk about, right, and how we can enforce the BitLocker during the autopilot enrollment for the brand new devices using or through out of the box experience, right? That's something which we wanted to enforce from the minute when the device is starting enrollment into Intune and management capacity, right? So yeah, that's all for this video. Hope you like it. Hope you learn something new. And also don't forget to like this video, share this across your friends, colleagues, and people so that they can also learn something new. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well so that you get to see new videos every time whenever those are available and uploaded. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.